It's all ready. Perfect. Cool. Hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat, focusing on the third and fourth tiers of women's football in England. That's the FA Women's National League. And this is the first one we're doing live, so get involved throughout the show tonight. And you can put your messages in the live chat and your questions and responses. And I'll have a go at doing one live. We'll see how it goes. See if everything behaves the way it should, and hopefully get some interaction throughout the course of the evening. So what we're going to do, first of all, as we always do, is have a look at the some of the news that's been going on around women's football over the last week. We're going to start with Norwich City, whose women's side has now been fully integrated into day-to-day operations with Norwich City men's. That's another side that now has that complete tie and link with the men's side for the club. So that's great news for Norwich City. The FA Women's National League, you may have seen over their Twitter over the last few days, have been holding strategy meetings at various places around the country as they look to improve how the league operates and runs going forward. So we should, as I understand it, see some of the information about what the FA Women's National League plans going forward is. And in international news, England women are playing Germany tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at Molineux. So tickets are still available for that game. So you can get yourself down to Molineux if you can, and you can watch England's women's team play against Germany. So that's 7:30 at Molineux tomorrow. That's the news over the past few days. So let's now go and have a look at the results from the past 7 days. We're going to start, as we always do on this show, with the Northern Premier Division. Just 2 games. It was a very heavy week for postponements because of the various storms, and it was a County Cup weekend as well. So plenty of games and teams were involved in County Cup rather than the domestic league fixtures. So Northern Premier Division, Derby County 1, Loughborough Lightning 1. Derby County taking the lead on the 8th minute thanks to Ellie Gilliatt. Abby Benstead for Loughborough Lightning equalising in the second half, 52nd minute for Loughborough Lightning. And Nottingham Forest 1, Hull City 0. Nottingham Forest getting the only goal of the game in that one. Charlotte Greengrass in the 68th minute, just 8 minutes after coming on, put Forest 1-0 up, and that proved to be the only goal of the game. What that means in the table, the point for Derby County means that they're above Wolves. They climb into second. They're above Wolves on goal difference alone, just a single goal, giving Derby County second spot at the moment. Nottingham Forest have moved up to fourth after that victory. And you'll see at the top there, a lot of those games, the teams have started to even themselves out in terms of games played. Wolves have still got 3 games in hand, so they could still get themselves significantly clear at the top of the table. Huddersfield down in 6th. They've got 2 games in hand. They could get themselves right back into the mix as well. So still kind of one of 6 teams in the Northern Premier Division that is going for the title. Any one of 6 could realistically still go into that promotion playoff game. In the Southern Premier Division, a couple of fixtures, a lot of postponements in this one. Hounslow against Oxford United on Wednesday was postponed, but Portsmouth did get their game against Crawley Wasps. Goals for Portsmouth coming to Sherelle Castle in the 33rd minute, Emma Jones in the 74th minute. And then for Crawley, 47th minute, Alicia Clark-Manwaring. And then 69th minute, Aisha Swaby put Crawley 2-1 up before that Emma Jones equaliser for Portsmouth. And then 80th minute, Florence Jackson getting what would prove to be the game-winning goal for Crawley. Crawley in action again on Sunday, the only game in the Southern Premier Division to go ahead on Sunday. Bridgewater against London and Chichester and Chelsea against Gillingham postponed. Crawley hosted Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town running away 2-0 winners in this one. Abigail Lafayette and Paige Peake with the goal for the league leaders. League leaders, Ipswich Town now 5 points clear at the top of the table. Crawley Wasps staying in the mid-table. They're 3 points there, lifting them now 4 points clear of Portsmouth, the side below them. But that means, because of the way the points are, that there have been no changes in positions in the Southern Premier Division. Cardiff City there minus 2 points for their failure to fulfil fixtures because of COVID. They are still 7 points clear of the bottom four. Don't forget, throughout the show this evening, you can get involved on the live chat. You got any comments about women's football over the last 7 days, put them in the chat. We'll have a discussion about them towards the end of the show. Let's move towards Division 1 North. We'll sail through a few of these because Division 1 North, everything was postponed, which means the table is still as it was. Liverpool Feds at the top, 2 points clear of Newcastle United, and it is seemingly becoming a two-horse race between Liverpool and Newcastle. Newcastle are now 11 points clear of Leeds. So even with Leeds United's 2 games in hand, they can only get to 29 points. They'd still be 5 points behind Newcastle United. Down towards the bottom, Bradford City staying out of the bottom 3 by a single point. They've got games in hand on those teams below them as well, though, apart from Alnwick Town, who you would feel at the moment are down anyway. It's 12 teams in Division 1 North, so it's a 22-game season. Alnwick Town not even halfway through their season, which, given we're nearly at the end of February, is quite remarkable. They only have 1 point. Barnsley deducted 3 points a few weeks ago, so they are 4 points away from safety. They've got games in hand over Chester Street Town, but that gap, they don't really want that to get any bigger. Division 1 Midlands, Bideford United against Wem Town abandoned. I'll go into that a bit more in a moment. Leaford Athletic against Burton Albion was postponed. Yes, Bideford United against Wem Town was postponed due to a medical incident to the Bideford keeper. They were 2-0 down at the time, but the club have come out and said today that the keeper, she is at home and recovering, is Emma Dell. So we all send our best wishes to her. That game was abandoned. They understand the game will be replayed. It was on the 62nd minute, so there was still half an hour of that game left to play. Again, nothing from the Midlands means there's no change in the table. Boldmere St Michael's are top, 2 goals ahead of Doncaster Rovers Bells, but they have a game in hand as well. Lincoln City have not had the best of form of late, and that means they are falling ever so slightly adrift, but they have got a couple of games in hand, so they can bring themselves back into contention as we head towards the closing stages of the season. And then towards the bottom, Wem Town are in the bottom 3, but they have games in hand over those sides around them. Bideford United at the bottom there, their game abandoned against Wem Town this weekend. Wem Town really could have done with that victory. That would have lifted them out of the bottom 3, but said a medical incident to the Bideford keeper. Thankfully, she is at home now and recovering. Very good evening to you, Nicholas, who says, have Forest blown their chances for the league? It's going to be a close one, I think. I personally think they might be a bit too far back now. However, as we'll see later on in the show, they are playing Wolves this weekend. And if they can take 3 points against Wolves, then you would feel they might be back into it. I mean, they have got a somewhat difficult run in, I suppose, particularly when there are 6 teams in the north that have got a shot of this title. The Forest have got to play Wolves, they've got to play Derby again, But you would feel as though other teams around there, in terms of they've got to play Loughborough, you'd feel they should win that. Middlesbrough, you feel they should win that. Stoke, again, there's plenty of opportunities for Forest to pick up 3 points, and only you would think a few games that they should find tricky. Now, of course, all the games are difficult. Let's not beat around the bush with that one, but I feel that Forest, they're not out of it yet. I think if they lose to Wolves this weekend, I think that might be a step too far for them to come back into the title race. Right, let's go through into the Division 1 South East then, because there's plenty to talk about in the South East. It was one of the only leagues that actually managed to play a vast majority of their games this week. So we'll start on Tuesday with Stevenage 1, Harlow Town 2. Goals for Harlow Town coming to Billy Brooks in the 75th minute and Chloe Bassett in the 81st minute. No information is up there about the goal to Stevenage, but it's Harlow Town that take all 3 points. AFC Wimbledon 2, Queen's Park Rangers 0. And get that game up. There it is. AFC Wimbledon 2, Queen's Park Rangers 0. Unfortunately, Wimbledon haven't got their team up. However, I am in contact with their general manager, Sver Axelsson, who, if you remember, was on the show before Christmas, when she was with Clapton, and for their brilliant FA Cup run. So we've got the midweek fixture. They halted all efforts for most of the game, QPR. In the 81st minute, Kelly Hyman scored a 25-year-old screamer into the top left corner from a corner. And in the 92nd minute, Ashley Hinks, her 31st goal of the season in all competitions, a 1v1 with the QPR keeper. Thank you very much, Sophia, for sending me the information on that one. Billericay Town 4, Kent Football United 1. Goals for Billericay Town to Georgie Morton, Samantha Pittock, and 2 for Zoe Russian. Chloe Francis getting a goal for Kent Football United near the end in the 85th minute. Other game on Wednesday, Cambridge United against Cambridge City was postponed, and Hashtag United put 4 past London Seaward. Malika Apinda Gill, Catherine Nutman, Sasha Adamson and Kelly Weverall getting the goals for Hashtag United. Going into the weekend, Enfield Town, a convincing victory for them over Kent Football United. They opened the scoring on the 20th minute thanks to Leah Littlechild, who then doubled their advantage and her tally for the day on the 37th minute. They followed that up quickly with 2 other goals, Molly Committer in the 40th and Cherise Slater in the 42nd minute. Made it 4-0 by half-time. There's goals Che Thomas in the 74th minute, and there is also another goal in there somewhere that hasn't been credited. That was in the 58th minute, but that hasn't been credited to a scorer. Let's go to Norwich City against Stevenage then. No information about the scorer for Norwich. Stevenage's 2 goals, Holly Greenwood and Amy Makewell gave them the 3 points. And finally, for Division 1 South East, a brace for Demi Edwards gave Queen's Park Rangers a 2-0 victory over London Seaward. Let's have a look at the South East table then. There's quite a bit of movement. Several teams have swapped. AFC Wimbledon have swapped with Actonians. They're now up to 3rd. There's still a 6-point gap between them and Billericay Town, but they have a game in hand as well. Hashtag United 4 points clear of Billericay Town, but Billericay have got a game in hand over them. So it could well turn into a 3-horse race in Division 1 South East after looking for so long as though it was just between Hashtag United and Billericay Town. Towards the bottom is where it's interesting. It's quite tight there between Enfield Town, who have got 17 points. They've climbed above Cambridge City this week. They're just 1 point clear of the bottom 4. Harlow Town are now in the driving seat to get out of the bottom 4. Kent Football United is still down there at the bottom. But with that one being a 13-team season, 24 games to play, Kent Football United have only got 8 left. They're already 12 points back. So feel the writing is already on the wall for Kent Football United. We could see them with an R against their name before too long. Division 1 Southwest, just the one game. Poole Town 0, Portishead 4 after Larkhall against Exeter was postponed. Exeter desperate to play a game, but can't give you any information on that one yet. Portishead haven't got the information up on the full-time website. What it means for the table, Portishead, they stay exactly where they are. They've just gained the extra 3 points. They've been deducted 1 over the course of the season as well. So they stay in the mid-table. Cheltenham Town are still 5 points clear of Bournemouth, but Bournemouth have 2 games in hand. At the bottom, Poole Town need to pick up some points quickly. There are just 10 teams in this league, so an 18-game season. Poole Town there, 5 games to go. And they find themselves 5 points back from the relegation. 5 points clear from safety. So that's all of the results from the past week. Let's now have a look at some of the fixtures coming up. We're going to start in the Northern Premier Division. And as I alluded to earlier, there's some great fixtures coming up in this one. We've got AFC Fylde against Derby County. That, of course, AFC Fylde top at the moment. Derby in second. What a great game that's going to be. Hull City against Sheffield. That's the bottom 2 sides going up against each other as well. Loughborough Lightning taking on Burnley is 10th against 5th. Middlesbrough against Brighouse Town is 11th against 7th. Nottingham Forest take on Wolves. That's 3rd versus 4th. And Stoke City against Huddersfield Town is 9th against 6th. So what we've got coming up this weekend in the Northern Premier Division is the top 2 playing each other, 3rd and 4th playing each other, and the bottom 2 playing each other. So to just go back to your point, Nicholas, from earlier on, have Forest blown their chances of the league title? Well, they're only 4 points back. Yes, Wolves have got a lot of games in hand, but if Forest can beat Wolves this weekend, make them level on points, Wolves have 2 games in hand, it's still not impossible for one of these teams to go on a run. So it's interesting one. I mean, you look at Wolves' run-in, they've got Forest, but then they've got Stoke, they've got Burnley, Loughborough, Middlesbrough, Loughborough again, 2 games against Brighouse, 2 games against Sheffield. So you perhaps look at Wolves' run-in and go that of the teams that are left for them to play, they are the team that haven't got to play those kind of top 5 or 6 teams again. You look at, Derby have got another game against Forest, another game against Fylde. Forest, as I've mentioned earlier, have got a Derby game to come. Whereas Wolves, yes, they are still potential banana skins for Wolves, but you've got 2 games against Sheffield, 2 games against Loughborough. Now, don't forget, Loughborough got a draw against Derby this weekend. So, they're not foregone conclusions by any stretch of the imagination, but you look at it and you think that Wolves' run-in is perhaps the most favourable. Into the Southern Premier Division, Bridgewater United against London Bees, MK Dons take on Chichester and Chelsea, Oxford United against Crawley Wasps, Portsmouth against Gillingham, and Plymouth Argyle against Keynsham Town. So Bridgewater against London Bees, that's 6th against 5th. But Bridgewater have got 4 games in hand on the London Bees. MK Dons against Chichester and Chelsea, that is 11th against 12th. Both those sides in the relegation zone. Chichester and Chelsea could get themselves out of the bottom 4 with a win. So big tie for them there. Oxford United against Crawley Wasps, that's 2nd against 7th. Portsmouth take on Gillingham, which is 8th against 4th. And Plymouth Argyle against Keynsham Town is 13th against 10th. As I mentioned there, Keynsham Town, the side that's the last safe side in that league, they could drop into the bottom 4 if results don't go their way. Oxford United, with Ipswich not playing, Oxford United, this is one of their games in hand on Ipswich. They really could do with winning it to put the pressure on. Ipswich, as we'll come to later, are in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Division 1 Midlands, we've got some midweek games as well. So plenty of action in the Midlands this week. On Wednesday, Longington United against Doncaster Rovers Bells, 3rd against 2nd. Then also on Wednesday, Wem Town against Sporting Cowser. Wem Town could get themselves out of the bottom three with only a few games to go. And they've still got 10 games to go, but they could get themselves out of the bottom three. Leaford Athletic against Solihull Moors. That's 8th against 9th. Those are the two sides that are bottom of the safe zone, so to speak. So a crucial fixture for those. Then on Thursday, Lincoln City against Peterborough United. That's 4th against 6th. And then at the weekend, Bournemouth St Michael's, top of the table at the moment, against Long Eaton United, who are currently in third, and in fact will still be in third no matter what happens on Wednesday against Doncaster. Burton Albion against Sporting Cowser is 11th against 7th. Lincoln City take on Bideford United, that's third against bottom of the table, and Wem Town against Leaford Athletic is 10th against 8th. It's very tight towards the bottom of the table there, with plenty of fixtures. There could be a lot of movement, but Long Eaton United have the potential over the course of the week. If they were to beat Doncaster Rovers Bells and then they were to beat Boldmere St Michael's, with those two sides only playing one game this week because Boldmere St Michael's aren't playing in the week, Doncaster Rovers Bells aren't playing at the weekend, a 2-win week for Long Eaton United will see them go to the top of the table. Into the Division 1 North, more midweek fixtures to discuss. Alnwick Town against Durham Cestra on Wednesday. Norton Stockton Ancients against Chester Street Town also on Wednesday. And Leeds United against Bradford City on Thursday. So Alnwick Town, bottom of the table, Alnwick Town, still yet to get a win this season. They face Durham Cestra, who are in 4th. Norton Stockton Ancients against Chester Street Town. That is 5th against 10th. On Thursday, Leeds United against Bradford City, 3rd against 9th. At the weekend then, Chester Street Town against Liverpool Feds, that's 10th against top of the table Liverpool. Note, of course, Newcastle United not playing this weekend. Chorley against FC United of Manchester, that's 6th against 8th, a middle of the table clash. And Stockport County against Alnwick Town is 7th against 12th. Division 1 South East, then all these games back to a Sunday. Cambridge City against Enfield Town is 9th against 8th. There's only goal difference separating those two sides. Cambridge United against Norwich City is 7th against 11th. Norwich City could move level on points with the safe zone, but it would need a ridiculously high swing for Norwich City to get out of the relegation zone this weekend. Harlow Town against Billericay Town is 10th against 2nd. Billericay Town, they have that game in hand against #United, so they really could do with a win to keep the pressure on, because even with the game in hand, they're going to be 1 point back. #United themselves have got Queen's Park Rangers, that's 1st against 5th, and London Seawood against Stevenage, that is 6th against 12th. Stevenage 6 points away from the safe zone, and they have 7 games to go, so they need to start picking up wins quickly. Division 1 South West, finally in the league fixtures. We've got Bournemouth against Poole Town on Wednesday. Bournemouth, that's would say it's one of Bournemouth's games in hand over Cheltenham, but Cheltenham are playing Portishead. So Bournemouth against Poole Town is 2nd against 10th. And then Portishead against Cheltenham is 6th against 1st. So the top two in action. On Thursday, Swindon Town take on Larkhall Athletic. That's 8th against 9th. And then at the weekend, Exeter City against Swindon Town. Exeter desperate to play some league games. They've got 11 games to play yet this season. They have got at least 3 games in hand on the rest of the league. They've got 7 games in hand on some of the league. So Exeter desperate to play some league fixtures. Larkhall Athletic against Poole Town. Now that is a key fixture. It's 9th against 10th. Poole Town, you feel, really need a win in that fixture. If they lose that fixture and then they find themselves 8 points because you fancy that Bournemouth will take 3 points off them in the week. If they're 8 points away from safety with only 4 games to go, that you feel is the writing on the wall. And then finally, Maidenhead United against AFC Bournemouth. That's 5th against 2nd. So AFC Bournemouth will only have 1 game in hand with Cheltenham. this time next week because Cheltenham aren't playing at the weekend. Right, let's move on then to the Cup. We have the FA Women's National League Cup quarter-final. Now, they've had 2 attempts at playing this game, of Brighouse Town and Huddersfield Town, and both of them have been called off. They're trying again tomorrow night, and the winner of that will face Liverpool Feds. So Brighouse Town against Huddersfield Town, they're going to have a third go at playing their quarter-final tie in the Cup tomorrow. So we'll see how they get on with that one. And then finally, let's move to the FA Women's Cup 5th round. These ties are being played on Sunday, apart from Chelsea against Leicester City, which is being played on Saturday. For the interest of the FA Women's National League, the 3rd and 4th tiers, we're looking there at West Bromwich Albion at home to Coventry United. 3rd tier West Brom against Coventry United. Coventry, of course, who had all those troubles over Christmas. We spoke about it on the show. They're coming up against West Brom. And then we are guaranteed an FA Women's National League side in the quarter-finals of the Women's FA Cup, because Ipswich Town, they're top of the Southern Premier Division, take on Southampton, who are 3rd in the Southern Premier Division. Southampton with 5 games in hand on Ipswich Town. They've only lost once all season, as have Ipswich Town. And it really is the top 2 there in the Southern Premier Division because of the games in hand over Oxford United, fighting it out for a spot in the quarterfinals of the Women's FA Cup. As I said, because we are focusing primarily on the 3rd and 4th tiers of women's football on this show, we're going to keep covering the FA Cup really until there aren't any FA Women's National League sides left in the competition. But that is all of the results and all of the fixtures coming up over the past week. So I have a chance now to go back and have a look at some more of your questions. So if you've got any questions, comments over the things you've seen over the last the last half hour or so, and over the past week of women's football, then put them in the chat now. We'll get to them. Nicholas has been in touch again with Derby playing Fylde and Forest playing Wolves. Could this be the defying weekend of the league title? I mean, as I've mentioned there, Nicholas, before, I feel it could well be. If you have, Fylde against Derby, they are essentially neck and neck. They've won the same amount of games. Fylde have got 1 point more, but they've played basically the same. They've scored basically the same amount of goals. They've got the same goal difference. They are 2 teams that are very, very tight. I think Wolves are still in the driving seat because they've got all those games in hand. I mean, they could put themselves, if they were to win all those games in hand, 8 points clear of everybody else. Now, if they were to have those games in hand and get 3 points against Forest this weekend, because obviously Fylde and Derby can't both win as well, then I think it really will then become Wolves as to lose, particularly because of their running. But it could well be a defining weekend. If Forest beat Wolves, and let's say, for example, Fylde and Derby draw, and then you've got 35, 34, 33, 33, and you've got 4 teams within 2 points of each other, it is wide open. And these teams know that, particularly when they're playing teams at the bottom, we've spoken about Wolves, but these teams are fighting to stay in the division as well, so they're not going to make it easy for them. So it's going to be a really fascinating end to the season. We're into like 8 games to go for the teams that have played 16, so it will be really interesting to keep an eye on it. If I haven't had a chance to visit Enfield's QE2 ground, do take the opportunity. Lovely 1920 stadium. No, I've not had the opportunity yet. I do want to go and see more women's football grounds though around the country. Maybe something that will be easier to do next year, and hopefully work won't get in the way of that too much. Who do you think will win the Ipswich Town versus Southampton Cup game? Do you think Southampton will accept losing in the Cup to enable them to focus on the league? I think they're still going to go out and give it their absolute all. Of course they will. I think if you consider that they are 9 points behind Ipswich, but they have 5 games in hand. So I think they can still play in this game and go to win it, which of course they're going to do. Nobody goes into a football game not thinking they're going to try and win it. they're going to go in there. They're going to try and beat Ipswich. It will give them confidence in the league as well. You look at the league fixtures that they've got to play. They have to play Ipswich away in the league as well. So I don't think that's really going to come into it too much. They've still got to play Cardiff twice, and they've got Crawley as well to play Southampton. So I still don't think it's going to be necessarily a case of accepting losing in the cup. I think in the grand scheme of things, perhaps getting up to the championship might be the priority, because you feel as though they will get more money in the long term. We know how there is such a disparity between the men's and the women's FA Cup prize money. So you feel that they will get more in the long term by going up to the championship, but with still some championship sides left in the FA Cup, that will give them another good opportunity if they were to progress into the quarterfinals and get one of those championship sides to test themselves against the sort of teams that they're aspiring to come up against. So I think they're still going to go for it, because they would still love a cup run. Every team will love a cup run. And I think it's going to be a great game, but I think they're still going to go into it and not try and just focus on the league too much. I think they're still going to go in for a big cup run. So we'll just give a minute or two for other questions to come in, if anybody's got any more. But just to say, this is the first live one. If it seems to go down well, then I'll look to perhaps make it live every week and have more of a community discussion. Whether I change the time to a bit later in the evening, just try and help out the timings a bit as well. That might help. I'll get some people's opinions on it. But yeah, I'm looking to do these kind of more every week, really, rather than the pre-recorded where I just talk at you for half an hour or so. It's been great to have some comments in from Nicholas this evening. It doesn't look as though we're going to get anything else in. So I say thank you very much for watching this episode 28 of Women's Football Chat for this season, the first one live. I'll be back next Tuesday. We might vary the time, though, if we decide to go live again. Keep supporting your local women's football team. There's going to be some great fixtures over the course of this next week, including the FA Cup. Of course, big hope and shout out to the teams in the Women's FA Cup, to West Brom, to Ipswich and Southampton. Best of luck. And we'll be back next week on Tuesday for a next Women's Football Chat. But thank you very much for joining me this evening, and goodbye.